What do Russian spies, heads of foreign states, and terrorists have in common with US gun owners? They are all being spied on by the intel community, specifically through Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA for short. We often say that the Second Amendment protects the First Amendment, and it can be argued that without the Fourth, both are in trouble. Not many people are going to have a problem with our intel agencies spying on Osama bin Laden or other foreign adversaries. That's what they're designed to do. Call me crazy, and maybe I am. But I was pretty certain the F in FISA stood for foreign. So why does the FBI and the CIA care so much about domestic gun owners? Why do they need their personal information? Before we ask ourselves why, let's ask ourselves how. Okay, a little background on FISA and Section 702. We understand that Section 702 in FISA grants the federal government powers to spy on foreign adversaries, which is, most people would say, is a good thing. But what if I were to tell you, and I am telling you, the federal government is now using those same exact powers to spy on American citizens through the data broker loophole? So let's talk about the data broker loophole and what that specifically is, where that came from, what that means. So we've all been scrolling through ads, emails, Instagram, Twitter, whatever the case may be, and we've signed up or we've subscribed to get email updates or shopping updates, whatever the case may be. Again, so you've, in that instance, sold one data point. You've subscribed to one email. We have this one little thing on you that says, you like outdoor activities. Great, one data point. What happens now is these data brokers and the people working at intelligence agencies can collect multiple points of personal information on you, and all of a sudden now they're building a digital portfolio on you with all these data points. And what happens is now, instead of best case scenario, intelligence agencies, data brokers, third parties knowing that you like outdoor activities on the weekend, now they've built up a whole digital profile on you, saying, oh, you shop here, oh, you do this, oh, you like that, oh, you own a firearm. Now, like I said, best case scenario, you continue to get ads on shirts and outdoor activities. Worst case scenario, all these data points, all this personal information that's been collected on you legally through 702 goes to our intelligence agencies, and they use it for God knows what. What are they doing with that personal information? Why do they need that personal information? Well, like we've talked about, they're starting to build digital profiles on you. They're starting to compile personal information, what this person likes to do, what this person says, what are their tendencies. Why is that bad for gun owners? Well, lists, gun owners, confiscation, we all know how that story goes. For a little more insight on 702 and FISA specifically, let's take a look at this clip from Judiciary late last year.
The reason this authority is so controversial, and the reason it should not be reauthorized without far-reaching reforms, is that it's become a rich source of warrantless access to Americans' communications. How did this happen? Section 702 authorizes warrantless surveillance, and therefore it can only be targeted at foreigners abroad. But the surveillance inevitably sweeps in Americans' communications because Americans communicate with foreigners. Overseas surveillance can therefore have just as great an impact on Americans' privacy as domestic surveillance. Yet for the most part, the government writes its own rules for overseas collection. And those rules expressly permit bulk collection and backdoor searches. There are also gaps in FISA's exclusivity provision that allow the government to treat certain parts of FISA as optional. For instance, FISA appears to require the government to obtain a court order to collect American cell phone location information. But the government can and does obtain access to vast databases of this highly sensitive information by purchasing it from data brokers. There is little point in closing the backdoor search loophole if the government can simply pivot to other loopholes in the law.
So what you just heard there was a clip from the Judiciary Committee hearing that took place last year on a FISA reauth bill, which contained certain provisions, pro-gun provisions from our standpoint, but in general, very good provisions to the FISA reauthorization bill. So where we're at, Judiciary passes a solid bill out of their committee. Good to go to the floor, good to be negotiated, we're good to go there. So we go to rules, everything seems to be on course, on the same trajectory that we thought it would go on, and then something crazy happens at Rules Committee. Listen to Thomas Massie explain this.
So we put all that in this bill. This week, we got it to the Rules Committee. Okay, there was an argument over jurisdiction. The Intel Committee, which meets in secret, and they're responsible for overseeing CIA, NSA, all those departments. They claim jurisdiction on this bill. Judiciary claimed jurisdiction on the bill. The reality is there's joint jurisdiction, but if it's domestic spying, that is definitely the jurisdiction of the Judiciary Committee. Well, the Intel Committee said, we're going to blow this whole thing up if you don't agree to our terms of engagement on the floor of the House. And we said, okay, what are those? And they said, we're going to take out the warrant provision. We're going to take out the loophole around the warrant, buying the day. We're going to sanitize your bill and make it more like a clean reauthorization of what exists. But you can have votes on the floor to put your stuff back in. Those are the terms of engagement we agreed to. So they dumbed down the Judiciary bill. We brought it to the Rules Committee. We were having a debate there on which amendments to allow, like putting the warrant back in. We were going to have that vote on the floor, and we started winning. We were winning. We were going to win on the floor of the House, and they canceled the committee while I was in it.
Who is they, though?
The Speaker, but he was pressured by the Intel Committee.
That clip right there tells us everything that we need to know. The Intel community did not want their members taking a hard vote on a tough piece of legislation, and they knew if this amendment was made in order, it was put into the underlying legislation, and you had to go vote on it on the floor, that would put a lot of their members in a vulnerable position. Guys, we need to understand one thing here. Republican congressmen on the Intel committee, Republican leadership, they're going out of their way to ensure our federal government maintains the ability to spy on domestic citizens, to spy on gun owners. Before I go any further, I did want to remind y'all of the truck giveaway that we're doing, fully loaded Toyota Tacoma, and we actually have some footage to share with y'all right now. I want to take a minute to give a shout out to members like Thomas Massie, Chip Roy, Jim Jordan, Warren Davidson, have all been instrumental in making this issue important and relevant. What happens from here, we do not know. FISA is set to expire in the coming weeks. We have a CR set to expire in the coming weeks. Honestly, now that the legislation's been pulled from committee, I'm not really sure they know where they stand. But we will continue to fight in this issue. We will continue to fight that the data broker loophole be sealed off and American gun owners' information does not be sold to the federal government. And we're in lockstep with those members that I mentioned earlier in trying to bring light to this issue and fight this issue. If you like this type of content, please make sure to comment below. And as always, like and subscribe. We'll talk to you later.